Hey guys, welcome back to Keys to the Cosmos. I'm excited about this video because I have another telescope review. Now I know I just showed my Edge HD, and that's basically the exact opposite of that. That's a huge SCT telescope, tons of focal length, able to zoom in on the tiniest of objects. This is the exact opposite. This is a wide field refractor telescope made for getting those really big emission nebula or shooting large portions of the sky and capturing some of those beautiful regions like Sadar and Cygnus or somewhere, the Milky Way core where there's just so many beautiful things, and that's where you want something like a wide field um, camera lens. And I've always had that in the back of my mind. I wanted to get something like a 135 millimeter camera lens from my Canon camera. But I always would go lean towards a telescope over camera lens. There's a couple of reasons for that. Is that first of all, camera lenses are not really meant specifically for astrophotography. So generally speaking, they're not very flat. On the edges, you'll have issues. You'll have misshaped stars, lines, quirky shapes. It's generally only in the center where you get really good quality, image quality. Also, they're not really meant to be focused to infinity as a telescope is meant to be. And the telescopes, in generally speaking, are much better in low light conditions. So that's why I sort of always lean towards a telescope. But I had planned to get a 135 millimeter Rokinon lens. But then I came across this. This is the Askar FMA 180. And not only is this a telescope, it's a really good quality telescope. This is apochromatic triplet refractor. So this is not just your typical guide scope refractor. This is a legitimate astrophotography telescope, but it can be used as a guide scope and for viewing. And that's what's so great about this. Not only is it less expensive than, say, a 135 millimeter, at least a quality 135 millimeter camera lens, but it has multiple uses that just about every astrophotographer needs. So that's why I ended up purchasing this. It really is great value and saves you money from buying something like a camera lens. So let's just talk quickly about the specs on this Askar FMA 180. So the aperture is 40 millimeters. So you can see it's quite small. But that being said, it still has a good amount of heft. It's very quality built. You can tell that they didn't cheap out. It feels really nice in the hands, and that's important to me. I don't want a piece of plastic in my hands. So that's nice. So 40 millimeter aperture. Now the focal length, depending how you use it, has two different focal lengths. So if you're using it as like a finder scope, or for just viewing, if you want to put an eyepiece, a star diagonal and eyepiece on it, then it has a focal length without the reducer of 220 millimeters, and the f ratio is f5.5. So that's not bad. That's fairly quick. And 220 millimeters is still a decent amount of focal length. I mean, you're not going to be using this to view planets or anything like that, but as I mentioned, as a finder scope on your telescope, or even just to maybe look at the moon or something really large, this will definitely get it done. And as I mentioned, it's quality and has a nice lens on it as well. Now, when you install the reducer, that 220 millimeter focal length goes down to 180 millimeters, and the f ratio goes down to f4.5. So that's the same as my Sharpstar 76 millimeter. That's a decent speed. It's not as fast as a camera lens. They can go down to under 2. But to be honest, I don't think you really need that sort of light gathering speed. This is definitely fast enough to be able to even capture dimmer objects and still not have to sink tons and tons of integration time. So to me, it's just sort of a nice balance. It's not as fast, but it gives you much better quality images. So that's why I really like it. And to me, 180 millimeters is a lot more usable than 135. 135 is great for a really wide field, but if you're trying to image specific targets, it's a little bit too wide field for me. There'd be a lot of cropping involved, whereas 180 millimeters is just about perfect. There will be some cropping. It gives you room to be able to image multiple nights and still crop, but not have to worry too much because you're so zoomed in and have to worry that you're going to have stacking issues once you go to put it all together. So for me, I really like the idea of 180 millimeters. That is just perfect. I believe they have another model. I'll put the information here that you can buy. I think it's even more wide field. So if you're thinking, well, 180 mil is a little bit tight for me, I'd rather go more wide field. They make one as well, and you can look more into that. I don't know all the specs on it, but for me, this is I saw this and I thought that's perfect for what I'm looking for. So some of the features, I'll just read it right off the packaging here because it tells you everything you need to know. As I mentioned, 220 millimeters with using as an objective lens, 180 millimeters when you put on the reducer and use it for astrophotography. It's a triplet dual ED air-spaced APO, so apochromatic telescope, and it mentions it's a sextuplet refractor when you put in the reducer for full frame astrophotography. So this is a very quality refractor telescope. This is not just something that's been put together and you can happen to use it for astrophotography. This is designed with the reducer to be used for astrophotography, and that's what I love so much about it. It's 145 millimeters in length, so not too bad. That's with, I believe that's in this mode, because there's 3 different configurations. As I mentioned, this is the configuration for astrophotography. There's another one for using it as a guide scope, and there's another one for using it for viewing. So those are the 3, and it explains it and comes with all the pieces you need to quickly reconfigure it depending on what you're using it for. But this is the astrophotography mode, the mode I've been using it so far. And the weight is 385 grams. As I mentioned, it's not super heavy, but it feels quality and it feels good in the hands. It's definitely quality made. So how I attach it to my telescope, it's quite simple. I have a T adapter just like I would use for any other my other telescopes. So this I actually took right off of the Red Cat. And I like this particular, I've never really mentioned it. This particular T adapter is made by William Optics, and the reason I like it is because it comes with a lid. Most of them don't. Most of them just come with this piece, and then you have, when you have it on, you have the lens exposed to air where dust can accumulate and all this, but the William Optic one comes with a lid. So never mentioned that before, but if you're looking for a really good T adapter and it really isn't much more money, I think these are like $35, look at the William Optics one. They're really good. So in order to attach it to my camera, I simply take the lid off my camera, take the lid off my T adapter, and then all you do is just quickly line up the 2 dots and click it in, and that's it. So that's now attached. It comes with the spacing of the T adapter. I think it's 55 millimeters. You don't have to fool around back focus. It's designed to be used right out of the box, and that's what I love about it. You don't have to mess around with spacers and all that. It's all ready to go as soon as you get it, and you just connect it to your camera. I didn't have to buy anything else. It was ready to go. Here's the lid on top of it. You unscrew that. There's the quality lens underneath. The focuser is really nice. It's very smooth. It's quality. Just the right amount of tension that I like. Easy to find focus. The image I use this for, which I'll have in my next video, so stay tuned for that. I actually put this right to use. So I can't show you any images with it just yet. I don't want to spoil it, but my next video you'll see an image with this. So you'll see how it was used in real life and the image I was able to produce using it. But because it's so small, I don't have a bad enough mask small enough for this. So I was just doing the zoomed in on a star and just trying to get it as small as I can, but no issues doing that with this focuser. It's really good quality. Now the way I use this is just how I do it. When I put this on my star tracker, I have this plate here that I purchased. So it's fixed in style plate, and it just has your standard, I think it's 1/4 inch screw, and it just screws right into my camera lens here. And then once I screw that in, you see, because of the length of this, I'm able to get a little bit of sort of play, so I can move that back and forth as I wish. And then all I do is with this, I attach it into my ADM plate on my Star Adventurer. So there's no, what's nice is as well, I don't have to touch my Star Adventurer because of this plate that I bought and because of the ADM plate that's on the Star Adventurer itself. This just installs right on it just like I would any telescope. So I don't have to fool around with like a camera ball adapter or anything like that. This just fits on like a telescope, because it's a lot lighter, but with the camera it's still fairly heavy. So I think that's the best way, in my opinion, to install it. Buy a plate like that and just put it right on your telescope, on your Star Adventurer, sorry, as you would a telescope, and then you can use the Star Adventurer to move it around and do the aiming. But yeah, that's what I want. It's something super easy. So I keep it in this mode, and as I mentioned, I'm able to just throw it right on the Star Adventure. And the nice thing is, for the first time ever, I was able to do 2-minute images and still have very round stars. So the reason is the weight, right? It always comes down to weight with the Star Adventure. Obviously, you still want to get a good polar line and all that, but when you're using something heavy like my Sharp Star, it's hard to get. You just can't do 2 minute images. It's too much weight for that star tracker to track very accurately. So I'm always limited to 60 seconds. But with this, I was able to do 2 images, and as you'll see on my next image in my next video, it produced really nice results. So that was really nice. It actually felt like an eternity doing 2 minute images. Wow. Like, I can't imagine guys who were doing like 10 plus. It must feel like forever doing those sort of exposures. But that was really nice as well. So I really enjoyed doing that, and I had a really nice first couple nights out with this, which you'll see a little bit later on in my next video. So just going back to the actual telescope. So as I mentioned, there's 3 different formations you can use this in. This is the astrophotography mode. There's also a mode to be used as a guide scope, which I plan to use. Here's sort of a picture of what that looks like. It comes with everything you see in that picture. It comes with the rings, and it comes with the mounting plate. So again, everything you need right out of the box to attach it as a guide scope, say on a bigger refractor, which I'll be using it for, or even maybe my Edge HD. You know, a guide scope can cost well over $100 just on its own. So this not only is it a refractor in itself, astrophotography telescope, but it can be used as a guide scope, and it can be used in another formation for just simply viewing, or as a spotting scope. So you literally would put an eyepiece on it, and you can use it as a spotting scope on your telescope, or just simply for viewing. Say you're looking at the moon. I mean, you're not going to get a lot of magnification out of this, but there may be something that you want to, something big like the moon, or that you want to use it just for simply looking at the sky, or maybe like Pleiades, or something large and bright that you'd be able to use it for. And again, it's a quality refractor, so you're going to get nice images out of it for both viewing and astrophotography. So yeah, that's it, guys. I wanted to show you this. I don't know if you've heard of it before. I hadn't. But if you haven't and you're looking for something real wide field, it's hard to find a telescope, an actual telescope that's this wide field. I think more brands are starting to come out with it, but Askar is one of the first ones, I believe, to do it. And as I mentioned, so far I'm really impressed with it. I've used it once or two nights, but on one particular image, and I hope to have that finished soon to be able to show you guys. I'm really excited. But yeah, that's the Askar FMA180D. Check it out if you haven't already. I think you're going to be pretty interested in what you can achieve with this little guy, and just another lens to add, so you have a variety of things to choose from depending what you've decided to image throughout the year. Thanks a lot, guys. I really appreciate it. Appreciate the support, and I'll see you on the next one when I'll put this little guy to action, and let's see what it can do. Take care. See you on the next one.